So today we're going to go over a tool to help you structure and pace your novels. Now that tool is called the scene sequel format. So I'm going to explain it to you, but you're going to have to stick around because in order for me to explain it, I need some props. Always do this in a well-ventilated area. All right, I've got these now. So today I wanted to talk about a scene sequel. So when I first started working on novels, I thought sequels were just the second book, right? The Empire Strikes Back, that's what a sequel is, right? Wrong. It wasn't until I read this book that I realized how misguided I was. Sequels are an element of structure, just like scenes are. And together, scenes and sequels, they're a double act that are important for the structure of your novel. They're yin and yang, peanut butter, jelly. They are a double act that is powerful because it helps you both organize your novel and also control the pacing of your novel. Now, if you're curious about what exactly makes a good scene or what makes a good sequel, I have videos about both of those topics. Those are linked in the cards. Today, I don't want to focus on those individual elements. Today, I specifically want to focus on what happens when you bring them together and how you can use that to control the pacing of your novel. Here's how it works. This is a scene. Scene. Scenes are moments of conflict, not necessarily action, but tension and conflict. So scenes are where you raise the stakes. They're where tension grows. But if you have nothing but scenes, if you have just a scene after a scene after a scene, then what happens is that the pressure is constantly rising. The stakes are constantly increasing. And there's a point where your characters, and also most importantly, your readers, never have a chance to catch their breath. It can get exhausting and it can get very, very difficult for readers to orient themselves. That's where sequels come in. Sequels, once you understand their basic definition, they are lower points. They're points that are not necessarily conflict. They're points where characters are taking stock. They are emotionally processing what's happened, and they're making plans for their next step. Sequels are what bridge the gap between multiple scenes. Literally, when I'm planning my novel, I use scene sequel so that in between every single scene, I put a sequel to connect them. It's a way for me to bridge the gap between all that conflict. So planning my book, it looks like this. This, I will concede, while visually pleasing, is a little too regular for a story structure. There's just too much of a regular cadence to it. So this is what I start with for planning, but where scene sequel becomes useful is where you can start using it to control the pacing. Here's what I mean. If I want to raise the tension or make things feel faster paced for the reader, if I want to intentionally make things move faster for a stretch, what you can do is you can either remove or minimize the sequels that are there so that you get this stretch of multiple scenes back to back, so that will constantly pull the reader along. If you don't want to completely omit the sequels, the other things that you can do is you can just minimize them. Physically on the page, instead of taking 3 pages to go through all the steps of a good sequel, cut it down to like a half a page tops. It will still feel faster. There will be that pause, that chance for people to catch their breath, but you're still going to keep moving. Incidentally, I was going to illustrate this with smaller blocks, but for some reason my wife was not comfortable with me playing with a saw to cut one of these in half. So that's how you can use scenes to really speed things up, to really make stuff feel faster. If you want to
slow things down,
what you can do is you can go through and make sure you have well-developed sequels after every one of your scenes. The other thing is that maybe with your string of scenes, you've been raising the stakes as you go, so that you have an increasingly fraught situation. The stakes are through the roof at this point. And that's fine if that's the effect you're trying to achieve. But it's important that when you're done, you have a proportionately large sequel to help compensate and help characters process all that just happened. If you go from this really high stakes to another scene immediately with conflict, it's jarring to the readers. And so a proportionately larger sequel helps everyone catch their breath and get reoriented. I already hear some of you going, Mike, that sounds like a formula. And I want to be clear. They're not formulas, they're tools. Scenes and sequels, they're just tools that you can use. They're elements that you can put together to get the desired effect. If you want a fast-paced thriller, you'll find that they have very small or minimal sequels. And if you're writing a big epic fantasy, you might intentionally have a larger sequel at a certain point just to give your readers a chance to put the book down. If you want to learn more about this, there are two books that I can recommend. One is the Jack Bickham book that I referenced earlier. The second one is a book called The Fantasy Fiction Formula that is written by Deborah Chester. You might know them better as the person who taught Jim Butcher how to write. I've got links to both of these down below in the doobly-doo. Feel free to check them out. They're very useful books and helped me understand scene sequel format so much better. What about you? Have you heard about sequels before? Have you heard the term used this way? Let me know down below in the comments. I'm really curious to see how many people actually know of sequels as a unit of story structure. Also, feel free to ask away if you have any questions or hit me up on Twitter. I'm there entirely too much. As always, if you do like this content, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. That really does help the metrics, and it does help this channel get in front of new people. I do appreciate the support. That's it. That's all I have for this week. I'm Mike, the Bowtie Writer. I'll see you all next time. Be kind to yourselves.